So, as you may or may not already know, I'm kind of a pretty big animation enthusiast. You can tell by this Nickelodeon shirt I'm wearing, as well as these bottom two rows of figurines here on my shelf. See, that's how you know that I'm legit and not some sort of like paid government, like CIA grifter or something, spewing out a bunch of false doctrines and propaganda like Colonel Sanders. But anyway, yeah, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to take a look at this new Nickelodeon game that was recently announced a couple of weeks ago. Let me switch over to the right feed here. And yeah, this game is called Nicktoons, The Dice of Destiny. And we're going to take a look at the reveal trailer as well as a couple other trailers for the game. And hold on, let me get that queued up here real quick. And yeah, I just figured we would talk about it and just kind of go, maybe not necessarily frame by frame, but we're going to pause periodically and kind of analyze it and talk about it. So I've kind of got some mixed feelings about this game. I want to be excited about another Nickelodeon crossover game, and this is being developed by Fair Play Labs, which is the same team that did the two fighting games, Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 1 and 2. The second one in particular is actually like really, really good. But this game seems a little kind of low budget. I don't know. I'm not loving the art direction of it. This pre-rendered start here looks pretty good, but the actual like in-game graphics, which we'll see in a moment, I'm not really super sold on. But yeah, and it's also not a fighting game. This one's more of like a kind of like a top-down isometric sort of, I don't know, adventure role playing kind of game. I guess you could say it sort of gives me vibes of like um, I've never actually played it, but like Diablo or something like that maybe. But anyway, let's just get into it. And as you can already see from this first still frame here, they hint very strongly. Well, it's not really a hint so much as a dead giveaway that this game is going to have Fairly Odd Parents representation. So right off the bat, you see this book, that opens up. That's got these two magic wands on it. And then you've got like little crowns and wands here, which just kind of alludes to Cosmo and Wanda, as well as this green and pink potion back here. But the most obvious giveaway is once I hit play here, if you are able to hear it. Let me actually make sure that I turned it up on my in OBS to where the volume is hearable. No, I didn't. Let's fix that. Let's put it probably about right there. There we go. But Tara Strong is narrating the opening of this as Timmy Turner. So yeah, let's flip back over to it, and I will go full screen again, and I will play it. So that's unmistakably Timmy Turner's voice, and it's kind of funny. I tried to like pause and see if there was anything hidden on these individual pages, but they just copied and pasted it on every page, like that tree right there. That's the same tree on the next page, and that's the same tree. Uh, okay, maybe not on that page. That page is a little bit different, but a lot of the pages they just kind of like there's that tree again. They just kind of copy and paste it, which is pretty funny. It's kind of economical, I guess, but anyway. Then we go into the actual gameplay here. But I want to go back, and we will watch all of that in a bit. But I just kind of want to speculate because they've not really told us much yet as far as which characters and franchises are going to be represented in this game. So obviously we've got Timmy here, and I don't think he's going to actually look like this in the game. They don't actually show any footage of him in action, but I'm assuming this is just in Timmy's imagination. Basically, you can tell it's Timmy because you can see his little flop of hair to the right where he's got those two distinct sharp pointy pieces of hair in front. But again, I don't think he'll actually look like this in the game where he's got this beard and like wizard hat and he's like the size of an adult. So that makes me wonder, who are these other three characters then, bearing in mind that they've probably been changed. I've been trying to kind of like speculate on that. This one on the right, I wasn't sure because like this braid of hair in the back was throwing me, but this blue color scheme on her silhouette It's very clearly a woman. And then kind of like her garb here that she's wearing. I initially thought maybe Korra from the Legend of Korra, even though I don't think she's ever worn her hair like that. But again, I mean, Timmy doesn't actually have a beard. So I kind of wondered if that could be Korra, but they did just recently, actually, like earlier today, maybe like 5 hours ago or something, confirmed Katara is going to be a playable character. So maybe it's actually her and not Korra. The other two, we really don't have any idea. But now this one on the left, this might seem like a bit of a stretch, but I don't know. I think given the orange color scheme, again, if this is Timmy's imagination and he's imagining this person being like ripped with massive muscles and stuff, we can presume they probably don't really look like that. Maybe these three characters around Timmy here don't actually represent anything, but if they do, I kind of feel like this could be Carl Weezer. Because again, the orange color scheme, Carl wears a striped orange shirt, and also just the curvature of the face here. His face looks a little pudgy, and he also has much bigger, rounder eyes than these other three here, which kind of implies to me that maybe these are glasses, the frames of glasses. So yeah, I could be completely off base about that, but that's just kind of my little theory. So we've got this one as being Carl. We've got Timmy, maybe Katara, or maybe it is Korra. I don't know. Because they're technically, I guess you could say, two different series, so maybe they'll both be represented in this game. And then on the far right, I don't know. The green color scheme is kind of throwing me. Nickelodeon in all of their video games, they love referencing, they love having SpongeBob. They love having Avatar, The Last Airbender. We've already seen both of those. And kind of the third trifecta of that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I didn't grow up with TMNT, and I don't really consider that to be a Nickelodeon property, even though they own it now. Kind of like how they recently acquired Garfield in the past few years, and I think Smurfs also. But I don't really think of those as being like Nickelodeon properties. So I kind of get tired of all the like TMNT representation and stuff. But this character on the right, so I wonder if maybe that could be like, I don't know, does Shredder's head garment kind of look like that? And that might explain why they're like green, because like TMNT. But he's the villain though, right? So I don't know that much about TMNT, but I know they put Shredder in a lot of these Nickelodeon games. But beyond that, though, I kind of was thinking too, like, what if this is like Sheen from Jimmy Neutron, but like dressed as Ultra Lord or something? Because this kind of vaguely reminds me of like Ultra Lord's helmet. Even though Ultra Lord is like purple. Sheen, though, he has like a green shirt, so maybe that's two different Jimmy Neutron characters we're getting. Or another thought I had is maybe this is another Fairly Odd Parents character, and this could be, kind of like with the Shredder thing. I don't really know why it would necessarily be a bad guy standing here with the heroes, but I wonder if it could be Mr. Crocker, because I remember, I think it was in Abra Catastrophe, the Fairly Odd Parents movie. Mr. Crocker, he captures Cosmo and Wanda, or he captures Wanda anyways, and he harnesses her power to make this wish that he's like the supreme ruler of everything. And I think he had a very similar helmet to this one right here, sort of. So that's kind of my theory. I don't know if it's somebody else. Let me know in the comments who you think it is. If it's TMNT or a show I'm just not that familiar with, I might be completely off base. But that's just kind of the vibes I'm getting from the silhouette here. But let's keep going. And of course they show SpongeBob. Naturally he's going to be in there. But this is where again I kind of question the game's art style a little bit. Like I want to be excited. But then they show SpongeBob here, and it shifts into the gameplay, and something about it just looks kind of a little cheap to me. Like it's kind of, again, Fair Play Labs. What resolution is this video? Okay, it's 4K. Looks a little blurry on my monitor, but whatever. But yeah, so this is the same team that made Nick All-Star Brawl. They've not made a bad game yet. So it's not that I don't trust them. It's just I don't trust Nickelodeon, I guess, because the game can only be as good as the time and the budget that the developers are given, Because, like, you can pour your heart and soul into a project all you want, but if you're only given, like, 6 months of development time for a game that really needs, like, 2 years, then, like, you might be able to still see that there was a lot of passion that went into it, but the end product might not be great. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic for this game. But yeah, we can see SpongeBob here in a knight costume. I don't know if you'll be able to change costumes or if SpongeBob's always going to be a knight. I don't know if maybe I'm not really like a Dungeons and Dragons person, but I'm kind of wondering. Like we saw Timmy as kind of a wizard there, and then SpongeBob here is kind of a knight. So maybe all the characters or a lot of them will have costumes that's just kind of like one set costume that you can't change that just represents like the archetypal like class that you might see in a game like D&D. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not sure where SpongeBob is supposed to be here. But we see he's fighting this guy. It looks like some kind of SpongeBob character. I can't really make out who that is supposed to be. And then we got another shot here where he's fighting more people. I think these are just generic enemies. Like they kind of look like SpongeBob fish, but they're given like a medieval overhaul. Now these jellyfish here are definitely from taken from Dunces and Dragons, the SpongeBob special. If y'all remember that, where I know Plankton, or I think like Planktonomore, they called him the wizard in that movie. Or that special, he had like a giant jellyfish that was like a dragon with like a pointed tail, like we see here, and with like spikes. I don't remember there being any fish characters quite like this in that medieval special, but maybe there were. But yeah, these areas are kind of weird because it's like this gives me like I guess this is either in Bikini Bottom or somewhere underwater because we see these like little pieces of I guess like kelp or seaweed or whatever. It's not just regular blades of grass here. It's all swirly and stuff. But everything around it is kind of weird. You know, we got this map here that also looks kind of SpongeBob-y. It's, you know, kind of like a pirate treasure map that's folded on both ends. But yeah, if we go back a little bit here, like, I don't know, like this is like, is this still in the world of SpongeBob? Because it's like it's kind of got that swirly grass, but at the same time, these leaves don't really look like anything in SpongeBob. Like this doesn't look like the kinds of plants that would grow under the sea, but I don't know. These purple rocks here kind of call to mind like jellyfish fields, and this sandy path here kind of looks like something you might would see on SpongeBob. Um, but uh, but yeah, we'll keep on going here. And then they got Poof and the magic begins. So again, if the Fairly Odd Parents references weren't obvious enough. So that is exciting. This is the first Nickelodeon game to include Fairly Odd Parents representation in I don't know how long. That was a big thing that a lot of people lamented with, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 1 and 2, is that was like pretty much the number one most requested character after maybe like, Hugh Neutron. For whatever reason, people really wanted Hugh Neutron. Yeah, Timmy Turner, he was like right up there for like most wanted characters, and I completely get it because I loved Fairly Odd Parents growing up, and it's still relevant to this day because they've got that whole show with what is it, that new girl, Chloe, is that her name, or is that the one? Is that the blonde girl that nobody liked from the later seasons? That was like a Mary Sue type character that Timmy has to share his fairies with. That might be who Chloe was. Well, whatever the name of this new girl that's in the show, it's like the next generation of Fairly Odd Parents. It's called like Fairly Odd Parents, the new a new wish, which I think is kind of a fun concept, and like Poof, Cosmo and Wanda's baby's like grown up in it and stuff, which is kind of cool. I've not seen much of it, but it seems pretty cool from what little I've watched. But anyway. So it's still, a moneymaker for Nickelodeon. It's never really went away. They tried that really crappy live action series that did not go over very well. But yeah, even though they don't make episodes of the OG Fairly Odd Parents anymore, they're still referencing it constantly. Still coming out with new stuff again, on the Nickelodeon channel and on Netflix. So it's about time they actually bring back Fairly Odd Parents, and I don't know what took them so long. People kept saying that, like, oh, there's some kind of copyright issue that, Fairly Odd Parents is distributed in America under Nickelodeon, but in some random countries it's, some other network, so there might be some licensing issues there. But I don't know. That was never a problem back in the early 2000s. Timmy was in all sorts of games. So I don't know. He's coming back here now, so I don't know why they couldn't get him into Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl before, or also why they couldn't put him in the Nickelodeon Kart Racer games that have been coming out as well. But, it is what it is. But so yeah, it's cool that we're getting him here, but there's other bits of footage about the game that I want us to check out as well. So let's go over to Game Mill's official channel here, and this one they give kind of a Oh well, actually, I think I just saw something that answered my question from earlier. But we'll get into that in a second. But we've got this SpongeBob overview that came out the same day as that initial teaser trailer. But like, yeah, I don't love this art direction for SpongeBob. Like, it just looks a little off. Like, I guess they're going for more of a chibi sort of thing. He's got a very big hand here. It's almost kind of calls to mind like Mickey Mouse or something. So I guess they're going with kind of a chibi sort of art style here. But like, look at the way his mouth moved in that little. And I know that's just for this trailer, not going to be in the final game, but everything about it just feels a little cheap, a little rushed, Um, but we see here that SpongeBob is fighting somebody, which is a member of the cluster, and I think we see more of that later. There, he's just fighting another fish guy, but we'll keep going a little bit. They're showing off some of his moves. But the cluster were the main antagonists from My Life as a Teenage Robot, which is a really good show that I grew up with. Jenny from that show. Okay, I think SpongeBob's just fighting more fish people. I don't know who this big guy down here is supposed to be with the cuffs, the spiky cuffs, looking like Bowser or something. Um, but um, but yeah, My Life's a Teenage Robot was a really great show starring Jenny Wakeman, aka XJ9 from that show, which was it was definitely one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows growing up. Definitely up there with like Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom and SpongeBob, of course, and Avatar. But yeah, that was another character, Jenny Wakeman, that everybody really wanted in Nick All Star Brawl, and they put her in the DLC for the first game, and then she came back in Nick All Star Brawl 2, which was great to see. And it looks like she's probably going to be playable here. It would be really, really strange if she's not, considering, again, SpongeBob was just fighting a member of the cluster, which, again, are the enemies from that show. And again, I think we see more of them later on. We saw that big orange one. I think we see some of the smaller green ones later on, maybe. Seeing some of SpongeBob's moves. I just noticed, because at first I was like, well, what's the shield really have to do with his move set? Because he did the karate spin or the karate or whatever, and it's like, okay, that's a thing he does in the show a lot. But I guess this is kind of a Krusty Krab reference. I'm just now noticing that like the shield actually has the design of like one of the tables that the customers sit at the Krusty Krab, so that's kind of cute, I guess. Um, Got some lava area there. Got reliable, and also saw him have his spatula. Yeah, right there. There's more of the cluster enemies from My Life as a Teenage Robot. So Jenny, pretty much a given for this game, but but yeah, we'll keep going here. Unless they decide to go with some other. Oh, and he can refill his health with pretty patties. I hope it's not always green. I hope it's actually like the whole like rainbow spectrum would be kind of fun. I don't know why there's like these mushrooms growing in under the bottom of the ocean here. That isn't something I don't think we've ever seen in SpongeBob, and I kind of doubt that that actually happens in real life. Um, but yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot else to glean from this. We got Bubble Blast. So you've got a pretty versatile move set, I guess, with a lot of different stuff you can do. You can go Goofy Goober. I don't know if that's some kind of special move, like you got to fill a meter. There's more of the cluster from Teenage Robot. And yeah, so of course, here's the platforms. It's going to be coming to Switch, PS5, Xbox, Steam, all that good stuff. So now let's go back. And I never actually, I don't think I watched this one, but yeah, I think this is one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know which one the blue one is. If that somebody can correct me, that just shows my ignorance on TMNT. I don't know if that's Leonardo, if that's Michelangelo, that whichever one this is. So that was who I saw in that silhouette of earlier, because this is that same helmet. I was like, is that Shredder? Is it whatever? But this answers it. It's one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Looks like pretty much the same enemies, although we're seeing kind of an interior of like a castle level here with some graffiti. I can't really make out what it said. Calb? I don't know. It's just gibberish. And I see I don't know if this is just nonsense. I can't make out what these words are supposed to say. I see a KALB and then maybe a C or a O and then like PA. At first I thought like, is that like Pat? Is that Patrick? But I don't think it's like PAK. I don't know. I don't know what that's supposed to say. Finding some skeletons. I don't know what these skeletons are from. That looks kind of generic. That could be from anything. I don't know if there's any skeletons like that in TMNT or what this big four-eyed monster up here is. I can relate. I'm also a four-eyed monster. Anyway, but yeah, it almost kind of looks like something from like Adventure Time, like the Lich or something. But obviously, that's not what this is. So let's keep going. I probably won't have too much to talk about here because again, I'm just not a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. Um, yeah, there's more of the cluster again from My Life's a Teenage Robot. I kind of want to go back. What was that other enemy type that we saw there? Hold on. Can I go? Shoot. I don't know there's like a key you can press. Is that also something supposed to be from SpongeBob? This shark guy. A lot of these enemies are like it's like they're kind of based on the show, but not fully. And I don't know what these like evil books are. Is it supposed to be like Plankton's eyeball on them? Some kind of like sorcery books or something? I don't know. But let's see if I can stop this at the right time here. Yeah, well, I don't know what these guys are with like the buckets on their heads. It looks like. Is that a foot on their helmet? Is that like the Foot Clan or whatever? Either that or they're Black Lives Matter protesters. I can't tell if that's a fist or a foot or what that is. But let's keep going here. So we got Teenage Robot, got more SpongeBob stuff. Not seeing a lot new here in this particular one. That's clearly Jellyfish Fields there. And I'm seeing some green goo. It's almost got me thinking, is this not a castle? Is this like the sewers or something? Because that's where like the turtles come from. I don't know. But yeah, I guess these moves are references to the show. I don't know. What were those enemies? Hold on. What was that? Okay, that's also, yeah, I don't know what this thing is. Is this from TMNT? I don't know. There was something else I saw. I thought. Maybe not. This is interesting. So this one here, it's like a SpongeBob fish, but he looks like Skulker from Danny Phantom. He's got the same color palette. He's got like green, glowing hair and a sword. So maybe these are like maybe a lot of these enemies are like from two different shows, like fused together. That would be kind of interesting. But yeah, I wonder if that maybe possibly confirms Danny Phantom in this game. But like, if you're familiar with the character Skulker, that is like pretty much the spitting image of Skulker right there, just in fish form. Um, so that's interesting. Okay, then that's the end of that. And then we got one more to look at, which is the one that just came out earlier today. Okay, 8 hours ago. I was a little bit off. Of Katara. And something interesting about her is that she doesn't seem to have any like costume, as far as I can tell. It's just Katara. Oh, and I guess it has their type here, so she's a spellcaster slash healer, which makes sense. She can heal in the show. Another thing about Katara, though, is that unlike SpongeBob and whichever TMNT character that was, and maybe also Timmy, if he actually wears a wizard costume, like in that little silhouette of him in the teaser, Katara just seems to pretty much have her regular clothes. Looks like we can see her mom's necklace there that doesn't really have anything on it. And the whole game has kind of like a more chibi sort of art style. For some of the characters, I'm not really feeling it, but I think it works for Katara. I think it's kind of cute because Avatar: The Last Airbender did have like these three shorts that they made, which were like these chibi shorts that you may have seen. One of them was called like School Time Shipping, and there was another one with like the characters from like the Swamp episode, and there was a third one. I forget what the third one was about. I think maybe like a game of like rock paper scissors, but with like the elements or something. I forget. But yeah, they all had a very similar chibi. I think they called them like Avatar deformed shorts. So they all had kind of a deformed art style like this. Um, Obviously, it sounds to be a different voice actor because Katara is obviously her real life actress has aged up and probably can't do a kid voice anymore. Unlike Tara Strong, who's always been doing Timmy Turner's voice as a grown woman. Um, but uh, but yeah. So we got Katara here doing some different moves. The water whip that was from the show from the Pirates episode, the waterbending scroll. We saw her fighting some Fire Nation soldiers here, which look kind of weird with their masks. Again, just going with my idea, if they're taking like two shows and kind of like fusing them together. Looking at these masks, this almost reminds me of like a Dia de los Muertos, like one of those like sugar skulls or something. So I wonder if this is like the Fire Nation soldiers, but maybe crossed with like El Tigre. This might all just be a stretch. I don't know. And then I don't know if this level is supposed to be Avatar: The Last Airbender inspired. I see some kind of like Oriental looking buildings back here. Not necessarily very strongly evocative of the Fire Nation, but a little bit. Again, like with these locales, it seems like they're not like super authentic in terms of representing the worlds they come from, but I think that's what they're going for here. They've got these like totem pole things that are like shooting fire to block the path. I don't know what these bugs are, these like kind of mosquito-y looking things. I'm guessing that's either Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or it almost looks a little bit Danny Phantom, because most of the ghosts in that show are like green. It kind of makes me think of Bertrand, I think it was, who was like Spectra's assistant, who could like turn into, he like shape shift, and like he turns into like a I think like a wasp or something in one episode. I don't know for sure if that's what this is or what I'm looking at here, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. Yeah, there's Katara. Again, that's just kind of her regular outfit. We get a better look at it there. She's got the water wave, which I don't know if that's exactly a move in the show, but I mean, I'm sure that's something she could do. I think we saw some of the Fire Nation soldiers riding the rhinos from Avatar. Ice Pillar. And this is kind of interesting how these fire things light up one at a time across the floor. It kind of reminds me of the spikes from Super Mario 3D World. Had a thing like that, and I've seen a lot of other platformers do that since then. Kind of toward the end of the game, and like the Bowser's world levels, where it's like, I think if you get in the spotlight, it can make some of these spikes shoot out and then they retract and stuff. But I've not really seen it in a game like this. Who was that she just defeated there? It was kind of like a purple looking enemy. I'm probably not going to be able to stop this. I need to figure out what the shortcut is, like F whatever. Oh, I didn't want to minimize it. That makes it where you can go frame by frame. These guys are maybe the Yuyan archers from Avatar, from the Blue Spirit episode. That cause it looks like they've got a bow and arrow here, and I think they had a head garb kind of like that. That Admiral Zhao uses to knock out the Blue Spirit in the episode called Blue Spirit. What else we got? Focusing. Stills waters, fuels strong tides. Okay. We got a Fire Nation insignia. So, yeah, I guess this is maybe this game is just like set in its own world. Maybe like all the characters from the different Nickelodeon universes get put into this one world, and so everybody kind of tries to set up a home there, you know what I'm saying? So maybe that's why this place looks so vaguely Fire Nation, maybe because it's not actually the Fire Nation. Maybe it's just like Fire Nation troops who ended up here are kind of trying to make a living here, you know what I'm saying? Hence why you've got this Fire Nation flag here, but nothing else around here really looks like anything out of Avatar. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. Frozen prison, so that freezes people where they can't move, and that is something that she could do in the show. What was that character in Healing Pool? Of course, Katara has healing abilities. Who was that she was fighting there? This big, burly fella. Okay, it's just another SpongeBob fish. That might have been the same one from before. They had those Bowser-looking cuffs. And I'm assuming that healing pool is I guess we don't know for sure if this game is going to have co-op like Diablo or something. I hope it does. I think that would be a really huge missed opportunity if it doesn't. But I would imagine where it's got that pretty large radius around it, that your other teammates might be able to stand within that pool and heal as well. But why wouldn't they have shown the co-op yet if there is going to be co-op in this game? I don't know why they would be hiding it, especially considering this game, it says, is coming out in the fall, so that's not very long from now. So this game presumably is more or less done. Frozen Rain, Barrage. So yeah, that's Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny. I hadn't really thought about this, but I saw one person in the comments point this out, maybe a couple people. But this is the first Nickelodeon game in a very long time that actually goes by Nicktoons in the title of it. You had like the whole Nicktoons series, which was pretty different from this gameplay wise. It wasn't like a top down isometric thing with like a chibi art style. But you had the Nicktoons Unite games. There was Nicktoons Unite, and then there was Battle for Volcano Island, and my favorite was Attack of the Toy Bots. That one had like a ton of different playable characters and like costumes you could get. And then there was Globs of Doom, I think, was the last one. I don't think I'm missing one there. But Globs of Doom was interesting because that one had like heroes and villains working together. So I wonder if they might do something like that in this game. I was going to say that when I was speculating about who that was with like the helmet on, that I didn't know if that was like Shredder or if that was like Mr. Crocker, but turns out it's just one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But still, we might could see some villains from some shows in there. But I don't know. At the very least, Invader Zim, I mean, he would be nice to see because you know, he's the protagonist, even though he's an antagonistic force. He's still the protagonist of the show. So it'd be cool if we can get him. Really like to see some Danny Phantom representation in there too. And even more of the niche stuff, like El Tigre, I think would be a really cool character for a game like this. He was a heavily requested character, and they put him in Nick All-Star Brawl too. But yeah, I really don't know how many characters a game like this is going to have. I hope it's a lot. I think it's kind of odd. I meant to bring this up when we were talking about Katara, but how? Let me just go back to full screen on my face here because I think we're done watching videos, and I'm just going to be talking the rest of the time. So let's switch over here. Hello. But yeah, I think it's kind of weird that it's not Aang, it's Katara. It's interesting though because like Katara's kind of gotten the shaft in a lot of these Nickelodeon games. Nick All Star Brawl 1 had playable Aang and also Toph and Korra, but there was no Katara. Then in Nick All Star Brawl 2, they actually cut Toph out. She's not in the second one, which is kind of weird. She was a really fun character to play as in the first one, but they still had Aang and Korra, and they replaced Toph with Azula. And I'm trying to remember if there were any other Avatar characters at launch. I don't think there were. But then after the game came out, there was some paid DLC you could get that added Zuko and Uncle Iroh. So once again, no Katara. She's like the only core team Avatar. Well, no, that's not true. Sokka's not there either. But other than Sokka, the only core team Avatar member that's not been in any of these games, and the only core team Avatar member that's not one of the four elements. I guess they thought maybe just like looks wise and also gameplay wise that maybe she was too similar to Korra. I don't know. She also wasn't in any of the Nickelodeon racing games. They had in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2, they had a playable Aang and Korra, and in one of them, I don't remember if it was the first one or I mean the second one or the third one, but they added Zuko. I think he was also DLC. See, they know what they're doing. They know that Zuko's such a popular character. They're like, we'll release the game without him, and then we'll charge people for it separately because we know that they'll buy it, which is maybe a little scummy. But they also had Toph, which some people pointed out is kind of weird because like she can't see, so how can she drive a car unless she's like Fred Flintstone in it and just yabba dabba doo? There's no bottom of the car. She's just using her feet, But yeah, so Katara wasn't in that either, or Sokka, but we've got Katara here. It would be cool to see Sokka pop up just because we've not had the two Water Tribe siblings in, again, any of the other Avatar or other Nickelodeon games as a playable character, at least not the Nickelodeon crossover games. There is an Avatar game that came out by that was published by Game Mill, which is the same publisher that's doing this game. That came out a couple years ago. It was called like Avatar: The Quest for Balance, and in that you could play as like Katara and Sokka and stuff. It goes through like all the first three seasons of the show. I would not recommend getting that game. It's very generic. It's kind of mediocre. I wasn't hating on the game. It was like, well, it's okay, you know. But then I got to a point where the game just randomly decided that it was going to delete a bunch of my progress. I was like 2 levels away from the final level in that game from fighting Fire Lord Ozai. And, you know, I closed out of the game. I was done playing the game. I went back to it, you know, the next day or whatever. And I was back at like toward the start of the game. It didn't erase like all my progress, but a good chunk of it for whatever reason. It's not like, oh, well, did you forget to save? Because like I started to say the game auto saves, but no, I think you actually do have to manually save it. I think you go up to avatar statues to save, and I definitely did that. But not only that, but like I had played, like when I started playing the day before, I was way further ahead than that. I hadn't like gone all the way through the game in one day. You know, I'd been playing it over a course of several days, and then it just randomly wiped my progress back to where I was at like 4 play sessions ago or something. You know. So it was really odd, and it wasn't just me because I looked it up and it was a known issue that other people were having, and I like emailed the developers about it and everything. Never patched it. The game's still like version 1.0 or whatever. They never bothered to update it. So that made me feel kind of ripped off. So that really made me, that really hurt a lot of um, game mills. It hurt their reputation in my eyes, where it's like, okay, so maybe not every game they put out is good. Maybe some of these games might actually be shovelware. Because up to that point, you know, they had the Nick Racing games they published, which were pretty all right, and then the Nick All Star Brawl games, which were really great. But again, you know, there's a difference between publisher and developer. The publisher just, you know, publishes the game, you know, and does the, I guess, I don't know what all goes into it, the marketing budget, and I guess, you know, distributing physical copies and all that stuff. But the actual development team, the people who are working on it, is Fair Play Labs, which again is the same team that actually did do the Nick All Star Brawl games and not like the crappy Avatar game. So again, it's a good dev team behind it, but just looking at the footage, I don't know. It feels a little cheap. You know, I don't want to say shovelware, but it definitely looks again kind of like a mobile game. It looks very low budget, and like maybe it's not had a lot of time in the oven because they pump out Nickelodeon games very quickly. And I kind of wish these companies would like slow down and give the developers the time and the budget they need to make a real quality product. So I don't know. Like I said much earlier on, it's a very talented development team, but it's just a matter of whether Nickelodeon actually gives them the funds and the time to make a quality game, which I hope they have, but we'll have to wait and see when the final thing comes out. It is weird to me though, because like back in the day, back in like the late '90s, early 2000s, Nickelodeon had like an exclusivity deal basically with THQ, who did like all of their licensed games. Right? They did. You know, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom and SpongeBob the movie, the game, and a bunch of other SpongeBob games. There was like a bajillion of them. They did. I think one of the last ones they did was SpongeBob Squiggle Pants, which was kind of like a WarioWare clone with a bunch of little micro games you play. And then they did like a SpongeBob Truth or Square game and Atlantis Square Pantis. But then they also did like they did the Avatar games back in the day. I remember there was one on Wii that was called like The Burning Earth, I think was the season 2 game, and then for season 3 it was called like Into the Inferno. There was Fairly Odd Parents games. They did Fairly Odd Parents Breaking the Rules and Fairly Odd Parents. I think it might have been called Shadow Showdown, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. And like a bajillion other games. I think they might have done some like Nick Racing games and stuff like that back then too, and like Nick Party games. Um, but um, but yeah, probably a lot more I'm not even thinking of right now. Um, Jimmy Neutron games, you know. But then around 2011, 2012, something like that, THQ went bankrupt. And so then Nickelodeon kind of had to find another development partner. And at that point, they just kind of started pumping out a bunch of like shovelware games. They did some with like Activision, and then some just I don't even know who the publishers or the developers were, but some very unknown entities that Nickelodeon probably found for dirt cheap and released some games that just absolutely sucked. They were just not finished games at all, just very cheap cash grabs. But then THQ came out of bankruptcy. They were basically, I guess, acquired or like merged into this other company, I think called Nordic. And so nowadays they're called THQ Nordic because a lot of times when two brands merge, they just kind of combine the names together, like Squaresoft became Square Enix, or Namco merged with Bandai and became Bandai Namco, but I still just call them Namco. Um, but uh, but yeah, so since then, Nickelodeon did kind of arrange to have a new partnership with THQ again, which got me really excited. This was back in like 2018 or something like that. Um, and that got me really hopeful. Like, oh, are they going to do like a SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom remake? Because at the time I was so excited about that was hot off the heels of like the Crash Insane trilogy and the Spiral Reignited trilogy, which took these old games and did just these beautiful remasters that looked one to one like the original, but with just a modern coat of paint that was just gorgeous. And they did that. Nickelodeon partnered with THQ, and they made a remake, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, which it had some mixed reception, but personally, I loved it. It's a little finicky. There's kind of some bugs and stuff that weren't in the original game. But on the whole, I thought it was a very beautiful remake, very faithful to the original, and I was perfectly happy with it. And then from there, they also went on to make a kind of a sequel, SpongeBob: The Cosmic Shake, and they've also announced they're making some kind of new SpongeBob game that they teased like forever ago that I think was scheduled to come out this year. I don't know if it got delayed or canceled, but it was going to be kind of a follow up to Cosmic Shake, but it was going to be like spooky. Like it seemed like the Flying Dutchman was going to play a big role in it, maybe as the main villain or something. And then Patrick is he kind of accompanies SpongeBob as like your assist character, like Navi from The Legend of Zelda or like Fire or something. Where he takes on the role. In the previous game, he got turned into like a balloon, so he was just this star-shaped balloon following you around. But in this one, it looks like he was going to be like a ghost accompanying you. But we've not really seen anything since that original teaser from like forever ago. But that's kind of all Nickelodeon's done with THQ for whatever reason. It's just SpongeBob, and that's great. I love Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it's cool that they're making more 3D platformers like that. 3D platformers are my favorite genre. But I don't understand why Nickelodeon isn't having them do all these other franchises and why they keep going to, this other company, Game Mill, whose games, even when they are good, even at their best, for the most part, do feel a little bit cheaper. So I don't know if Game Mill is just the cheapest option for Nickelodeon to go with or what. I do think Nick All Star Brawl 2, that game definitely was made with a budget, and the graphics in that game, I would say, are pretty comparable to Smash Ultimate. Not quite as good, but it's getting there. But this game kind of feels like a big step back, as were all of Game Mill's other games, where it just doesn't feel. It kind of feel like a game that could have come out like on hardware from like 3 or 4 generations ago. Like on the GameCube or the Wii or something. So I don't know, because back then in like 2018, when Nickelodeon announced that they were partnering back up with THQ, they had a big, massive list. They were like, yeah, we're giving them the rights to make games based on all of our IP. So, Invader Zim, Danny Phantom, My Life's a Teenage Robot, like literally list like everything, Jimmy Neutron, everything that Nickelodeon's ever done. So it's like, we've made a deal with THQ to use all of our properties. But they've not done that. It's only been SpongeBob. So I don't know if they went back on that, if they just like threw away the contract and again went with this other company, Game Mill, instead, but still left THQ to handle the SpongeBob games for whatever reason. But I don't know. With Game Mill, this company here that's making this new game, Nicktoons, The Dice of Destiny. Um, Again, they can be hit or miss. You really never know the quality of the game that they're going to put out. It could be pretty good, or it could be garbage. Whereas with THQ, I feel like you consistently get a pretty good game. THQ has a certain bar of quality that I don't think this other company, Game Mill, has quite reached. They're not nearly as bad as Outright Games, is another publisher that does a bunch of licensed stuff. They did like a video game adaptation of Adventure Time, Pirates of the Enchiridion. That game's pretty broken, you know. Um, that game, like it's pretty early on in the game, within like the first 5 hours or something like that. I fought a boss, and when I beat the boss, the game would just soft lock. And I did the boss fight again, the whole boss fight, and it soft locked again on the victory screen. So like I can't, it's supposed to be a full fledged it's like a turn based RPG, but you sail around the seas, kind of like a Wind Waker clone. So it's really cool in concept, but in execution, the game's broken, and it's a product that I can't use as intended because I can't finish it. Um, so Outright Games, pretty shoddy track record. I think they also did like an Ice Age game, like Scrat's Nutty Adventure or something like that, which I've heard's not very good. And they do a lot of like little kids show stuff too, like Nick Jr. and stuff. Like I think they might have been the ones who made like a Peppa Pig game, maybe Bluey. I'm not sure. Those games, despite being games for a much smaller audience, actually do look pretty on model with the cartoon. They've got some pretty good visuals in those games. But Outright, yeah, they're outright terrible most of the time. So I'm glad Nickelodeon's not working with them at the very least. But yeah, so I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about this game. I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess, might be the word to describe how I'm feeling, or uncautiously pessimistic to be a contrarian. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to put out a video talking about it because again, if there's two things I love, it's video games and it's animation. So I really relish the opportunity when I get to talk about both of those two things together. Whether it's a animated adaptation of a video game or a video game adaptation of an animation, I'll be here for it. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel if you want to see more stuff like that. And more stuff that are just video games, hold the animation, and occasionally, not extremely often, but animation stuff where we're not talking about video games at all. Like, for example, I've got a little casual, non-scripted, off-the-cuff review video that I did for the Plankton movie that came out on Netflix earlier this year. And then for the new 2D animated Looney Tunes movie, The Day the World Blew Up, I've got videos on both of those. I got a video on, this one's not really animated, but the Minecraft movie, and maybe something else I'm forgetting about. I don't know if I've done any other animated stuff on this channel or not. I've wanted to. Like, I watched the live action How to Train Your Dragon movie that just came out. I thought about doing a video on that, but I didn't. I didn't really know what I would say because it's the same movie, just like literally like line for line. Like it's pretty much all the same jokes, you know. Like I was like, oh, are they gonna have this part? Are they gonna have that part? Are they gonna keep in the joke where Hiccup's dad gives him the Viking helmet and he puts it on and he's like, it was your mother's breastplate, and he takes it out. He's like, yeah, that's in there. Yeah, it's like beat for beat, shot for shot, the exact same thing. There might have been like 5 extra sentences that were different from the original script, but I mean, it's like it's the exact same movie, just maybe a little bit less whimsical because it's not animated. But yeah, I thought about doing a video on that, and then also that Jellystone cartoon when they did that big crossover where it was like all these different Cartoon Network shows converging, and you had like Billy and Mandy meets Ed, Ed and Eddie meets Dexter's Laboratory meets Powerpuff Girl. Like that was pretty cool, but I didn't end up doing a video on it. But it was neat. But yeah, so stick around for more of that stuff. And when the game comes out, maybe we'll play it on the channel. I don't know. I'll see what the reviews are saying. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Flameo, Hotman.